Next up is our last technical session of the day, which is extension. So if we could please have our two speakers, Mallika and Frank, and our moderator come to the front here so we can move along, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Jerry. Hello, everyone. I think we are all awake now, right? So my name is Debankur Sanyal, and I joined this project this January when I joined University of Arizona as a soil health specialist. And I have a lot of extension work that I try to do. And we all know, like, we do all this excellent research, but it needs to go to the stakeholders, right? The industry, the farmers, the ranchers, so that they know what we are doing and how our information can help them together build a sustainable system, right? So we'd like to hear from our speakers today, Dr. Mallika Nocco and Dr. Frank McPherson. Okay, nice to meet you guys. And Marianne Bird. So we'll hear from them, and let's give a hand.
Hello, everyone. Afternoon. How about a big stretch? Everybody, take a stretch. Okay. All right. Now we're ready to talk about extension. So how many folks know what extension is? Raise your hand. Okay, a lot of hands, but not all hands, which is my goal, is every hand in the room. So let's see. Okay, now I have all the power. All right. So extension, I like to use and to think about this idea of extension, transformative extension, as, we are in these universities, right? The universities, they have designated spaces, they have walls, and the idea of extension is that in these land-grant universities especially, that the walls of the university and the borders of the university extend to the borders of this state. Right? So the education does not stop in the university. The education goes beyond the university to the state, using multiple modes, using multiple approaches, many of them informal. And it's kind of fun because when we were getting going on this project, it's like, well, what's the difference between education and extension? Because they really go hand in hand, And some of the activities, they target even similar groups, but I think of it as, this leads really well off of what was just spoken about, and some of them are even K through 12. But when we talk about K through 12 extension, we're thinking about, not formal in-school settings. So getting into some of what we're thinking about with extension, this project is really trying to target many different groups of people who could benefit from thinking about water, thinking about agriculture, thinking about sustainability. So I'm just gonna go through, a few different things that we're doing and then turn it over to these folks to tell you some details about one particular project within the project. So first is engaging in targeting growers and the public with podcast and print media. So this is kind of a new type of extension, right? And it really did blossom during the pandemic, when all of a sudden more traditional extension approaches to reach farmers, to reach growers weren't as accessible for us all, right? So now we are doing something called, we're podcasting. So I have a podcast called Water Talk. Has anyone listened to Water Talk? Yeah, awesome. Well, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're at anywhere that you can find a podcast, you can listen to this podcast. And I thought, because I knew Felicia Marcus was gonna be here today, that I would highlight episode 26, featuring Felicia Marcus. We have actually did, you saw her, so you know how wonderful she was. We had her on to do an episode. It was so good, we split it into 2 episodes. But yeah, episode 26 was with Felicia talking about water diplomacy and dialogue. Here's just an example of this. She talked a lot about listening to different people, really echoing some of what she said today about just different audiences, making sure that, even if you disagree with different communities, it's so important to hear around such a messy, wicked problem like water to make sure everyone is in the conversation. So we really try to feature different types of expertise about water throughout the state of California, but I'm gonna hit you up, Sharon. We've got designs on you for season 4. Um, so this is a great example of how we are trying to use this extension approach to engage on water issues. We also are focusing on print media and videography. So thinking about print media, there are these ag trade publications. And I was talking to Karen, who's a grower here. Isaiah, I don't know, you spoke of Karen's farm. I don't know if you realized she was here today. And we were talking about which farm publications you read. And this is an example of, this is actually National Nut, but Karen said she read Pacific Nut Producer, right? So there are these trade publications that are another type of extension. They're geared at grower education. And here's an example. The article's by Crystal, but boy, did I help Crystal with this article about distribution uniformity. So this is an example of another approach to extension where we know growers are reading these trade publications. So it's really beneficial for our team to be doing either ghostwriting or working very closely with many of the ag journalists who are publishing articles, educational articles in these trade publications about topics like distribution uniformity. That is an extremely important thing to consider for growers in conserving water. So much of what was, now I'm just talking about distribution uniformity, but so much of what was spoken about today, this is a great example of like kind of a boring practical thing that if we don't get it right, the coolest irrigation technology isn't going to be effective if our uniformity isn't effective. Here we go. So another thing that we're focusing on, kind of like stepping back, thinking at a larger, more regional scale with extension, is cross-state institutional analyses for groundwater and irrigated agricultural sustainability. The term, the cross-state institutional analyses, I like to tell this story, Sharon. Sharon, Sarge, and I, we were working on this project, and we each added a word here. First it was just analyses, then it became state, and then someone put institutional, then it was cross, and we're like, what do we mean by this? What is this? What is it gonna be? And now we think it's gonna be something really cool, and here's an example of an institutional analysis that Sharon did, thinking about Arizona Water Banking Authority and then managed aquifer recharge or recharge permitting in Arizona. We know that some of the same practices are occurring in the 3 states. But there are different policies supporting the practices, and the practices don't look the same across the 3 states. So what we want to do with groundwater banking and managed aquifer recharge, we thought about doing it with soil health, is to kind of put together a frame for what this looks like in the southwestern United States. So this is also extension, right? It's a different flavor of extension, but extension is anything that's going to lead to people being able to make better decisions for the people in this state. So this is another part of the extension component of this project. And then, I don't want to steal thunder. How much time do I have? 3 minutes, okay. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about this and then turn it over to Frank and Marianne. But we were so excited about this, right? So this is also extension. 4-H is extension. And who's all heard of 4-H? Oh, that's great. Has anyone participated in 4-H? Oh my gosh, we have some 4-Hers. Well, that's fantastic. So this is maybe a new type or new way of thinking about 4-H, and it was pioneered by Marianne here, who's developed this program called the Water Wizards. And the Water Wizards is a 4-H program that's really aimed at increasing experiential learning and STEM knowledge, STEM exposure in K-12 students, specifically students from underrepresented communities that we would like to see more of in STEM. We would like to see more in this room. We would like to see more as leaders thinking about these problems. And what we thought about doing and what we wanted to do, that I'm so excited to actually you'll see that has been done, is to take this program that was very, very successful in the Sacramento area and try to start expanding it across the southwestern United States. And we thought it would be really interesting and valuable if we are targeting communities that are at this urban-rural interface, right? So it's students that are in cities, but cities that are really close and adjacent to agricultural regions. So Sacramento was fantastic for that. And we also thought the East Bay would be a great community, a great area to look at. And one of the things when we were thinking about this project that was kind of astounding to me, and it made us take a step back and think about it, is we saw like, all right, we've got UC Berkeley, we have Stanford, we have Davis, we have these 3 fantastic research institutions, and there's so many cities and communities where there are students and there are people there who are not going to these 3 institutions that are so close. And how can we expose students at a younger and younger age to STEM, and how can we start to see more of the students that live so close to these schools at these schools, and what can we do to try to get that excitement? What can we do to show these students that being a scientist, being an agricultural scientist, being a hydrologist, that it's a good job, that it's a job that's going to pay you well, that it's a job that's worth doing at a younger and younger age. So with that, I'm going to stop and let these folks take it away and start to tell you more about the Water Wizards program. Oh, I had a whole other slide, but next year. Here you go.
So, first of all, thank you, Mallika, for giving me the opportunity to participate in this program through Water Wizards. So, I'm Frank McPherson. I am the Bay Area Director for UC Cooperative Extension. Bay Area incorporates the East Bay as well as San Francisco and some of the peninsula going down from San Francisco. I'm also the PI for Water Wizards. And as Mallika said, I adopted Water Wizards from Marianne Bird in the Sacramento region. So she's up here as well. I will talk to a couple of the slides, and she will talk to a couple of slides as well, specifically about the program itself and the extension part.
So again, I'm Marianne Bird. I work in the UC Cooperative Extension office in Sacramento County. So Cooperative Extension has an office in every county of the state, virtually every county of the country. And for those of you, I love the fact that some of you know Extension very well. And we're saying, well, this is the great place to go for water connections, very unbiased information. So, and then I'm the lead author for the 4-H Water Wizards project.
So let me talk about the circumstances for a minute. As most of you know, science proficiency in the U.S. Is really low as compared to other developed countries. If you talk about BIPOC or Black, Indigenous, or other people of color, if you look at those students' population, that proficiency is even lower and significantly lower, right? When Mallika reached out to me, I thought, well, you know what? Since I don't have a specific area that I need to do research in, I decided that I would do this Water Wizards program and deliver it to students that are have limited resources, that are in schools of color, highly marginalized, let's say schools that are at least 75 or 80% marginalized, and or have a population of color. And in doing the research in terms and identifying a particular school, I found Cherryland Elementary School, which happens to be in Hayward, which is just south of Oakland, okay? That particular school has a minority population of 98%, 83% of it being Hispanic, and 5% Black, and then the rest is other marginalized communities, people of color, students of color. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, and in working with that school, the other thing about the school is it's 71% marginalized. So the kids come from marginalized families. They're 71% marginalized. And when I reached out to the school, they were extremely excited to have this program. They've never had someone reach out to them to kind of deliver this program for them. I worked with both the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, the Alameda County Board of Education, Hayward Unified School District, as well as A&R and Davis to kind of start that program and deliver it last year.
So what is the Water Wizards Project? It was actually developed about 15 years ago with a small grant that we received from the National 4-H Council. There are two purposes behind it. One, which Frank alluded to, is to help to develop an interest and passion and capacity of young people to want to become scientists, to think that science is a great thing to do and is fun. And the other piece is to help to create an educated citizenry around the topic of water, because water is everybody's problem. That's what Kirk and I were talking about over dinner tonight. So, you know, it doesn't just belong to any one particular group. So the Water Wizards curriculum is actually a 12-week project. It was designed to be delivered in after-school programs. And the different topics that we cover, the first 4 weeks are water in the environment, which includes the water cycle, watersheds, water pollution and water conservation, water properties, which are a taste test, blind taste test, salinity, density, and hardness, and then a service learning project where kids actually develop, talk about and identify a water issue in their community and develop a plan around addressing that issue. It also includes, in both the case of the seeding that we did in Alameda County and in Sacramento County, a field trip to a water relevant destination. So in our case in Sacramento, it's the Department of the Department of Reclamation at the American River Water Education Center. So real quickly, we wanted to know whether or not there was knowledge gain that happened with Water Wizards. You can see here the pre and post test scores of the students who took it. These are the 120 kids in Alameda County. There was slight differences between the classes, but all students ended up at the same final point.
So we already got the stop flag, but I do want to tell you just a couple of things, if I can, right? The program was received extremely positively, both from educators, from the board of supervisors, from everyone involved, right? We delivered the program to 4 classrooms, about 120 students, and anticipated about a 25% growth year over year. What has happened is that the demand for for Water Wizards skyrocketed. We are in the process of planning it for next year. Cherryland Elementary School, which we're going to deliver it again. We are delivering it again to 4 classes and this year we're going to be delivering it to 5th grade students. That's when science education starts. We're also excited that we're going to be able to add a 5th class, which is a special ed class. They asked us to actually teach it to a special ed class, and we're going to do that. In addition, we're going to expand to 6 additional schools by training the educators and the teachers to deliver this program for us, which will add another 500 plus students to the program in our 2nd year of delivery. So that's going to pose some challenges. I'll have to talk to Isaiah on this things because we do take the kids out to the ranch. We live 50 miles from the ocean. These kids have, 1, never been on the ocean. 2, I have a ranch that I manage that's on the ocean. They've never been on the ocean, right? So we take them both to the ranch and the ocean. We had researchers and scientists. Mallika was there, right? Deliver programming at the ranch, right? And I will tell you, not only was the feedback about the program positive, but the feedback we got about the scientists and the researchers that were at the ranch delivering this program from both teachers and students was phenomenal, right? There are testimonials. If they send this slide out, there are links in there that have testimonials from the teachers and the students. But you know, it's an incredible success, I think, and I don't know when actually it's going to go with this.
So, do you have time for question? No. Okay. So, thank you, everyone.